Well, happy Tuesday morning to you, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. We are in the midst of a study of the parables of Jesus, and more specifically, the eschatology of the parables of Jesus. We're looking at Matthew 25:14 and following. And the man who called his servants together, he was getting ready to go away, and he committed his talents to them, and then he went away. And it says he was gone a long time. Have you noticed a tremendous irony about the parables of Jesus and what we find in the New Testament about time statements? Now, those of us who emphasize the objective nature of all of the New Testament statements that say the coming of the Lord is at hand, the end is drawn near, etc., etc., and our detractors and those who still believe in a future coming of the Lord say, oh, well, one day is with the Lord 1,000 years, 1,000 years as a day. Time doesn't mean anything with God. And that supposedly means that when God says something about time, it really means nothing at all, which is really disturbing, is it not? But then a really, really strange thing happens. Okay, so here we have all of these time statements that in the first century, the coming of the Lord was near, supposedly doesn't mean a thing. Then, however, we come to Matthew chapter 25, and in the very first parable there about the bridegroom, it says, while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. Then, when we come to the parable of the man who went away, verse 19, after a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts. And all of a sudden, the very people who say, time doesn't mean anything at all to God, they say, see, twice. It talks about delay, and it talks about a long time. That means 2,000 years so far. What? So at hand cannot mean at hand at all. But a long time has to mean 2,000 years. Did you notice that in both the parable of the bridegroom and the absent master, that the long time is only relative and in connection with, number one, the virgins to whom the privilege was given to go out and meet him, and number two, to the very servants to whom the talents had been given. It's not generation after generation after generation of virgins, and it's not generation after generation after generation of servants. It's the same servants and the same virgins to whom the task had been given or the privilege had been given. In other words, the long time was only in relationship to the generation to whom the privilege of going out to meet the bridegroom was given, to whom the talents had been given. To extrapolate this delay and this long time, 2,000 years is not warranted by the parable itself. Now watch this, because this is very important. Here in Matthew 25, we have the bridegroom delays. Matthew 25, the master was gone a long time. Now, later in the very generation to whom Jesus is telling these parables, the writer of Hebrews said, Hebrews 10:37, speaking of the coming of the Lord for salvation of Hebrews 9:28. The writer of Hebrews said, and now in a very, very little while, the one who is coming will come, now watch, and will not delay. So here in the very generation in which Jesus spoke of the delay and a long time, but now it's several years after Jesus spoke of the delay, after he spoke of the long time. Now, after the long time has passed, now the statement is, the one who is coming will come and will not delay. No more delay, as Revelation 10:7 would express it. There is no justification whatsoever for going to the parables and saying, well, it says a long time and it says delay, that must mean 2,000 years. No, it must not mean 2,000 years. Hey, get my book, Who is This Babylon?, for one of the most extensive discussions of the time statements of Scripture and the refutation of the efforts to discount, to mitigate, and destroy those time statements. Go to my website, eschatology.org or bibleprophecy.com. Order the book, Who is This Babylon? Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. Okay? Great offer. Take advantage of it today. And we'll continue our look at the parables of Jesus with a look at the parable of the great judgment and the separation of the sheep and the goats on the flip side. We'll see you then.